Hello, everyone. Here's what's coming up tonight on News Center Now. A widow in Maine is searching for the burial flag of her late husband, a World War II veteran.
No questions asked. If somebody would bring it back.
The American Legion Post is afraid it may have been stolen.
Because we want to prove, that we're worth it.
Why a recovering addict and former criminal says people like him are the hardest working employees.
And you asked and we went to find answers. Why would anyone need an AR-15?
This is News Center Now. Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. The widow of a World War II veteran says the flag she received at Arlington National Cemetery is missing. Her husband was once a member of American Legion Post 164 in Falmouth. Its members helped organize her trip to Virginia in September and offered to display the flag from her husband's coffin when she returned. She wishes to remain anonymous. By mid-December, the flag was folded and placed in an oak case like this one, ready to be picked up. Commander Alan Mazerall says a few weeks later they couldn't find it. It was reported missing to police, and the post commander says they suspect it may have been stolen.
The members and I thought she had come in and picked it up. She came in a week ago and asked for it, and it was gone. Why anybody would take something that means nothing to them and so much to her, it's just beyond me.
Commander Mazerall says the facility is used by a few different groups and they're interviewing those who used the space before the flag disappeared. Authorities are asking for the flag to be returned. No questions asked. And
no questions about whether or not I was a fan of today's weather.
Today
beautiful
was
out
nice,
there.
So I feel like it's going to be a little you like today, you like tomorrow kind of thing going on. What's up, Keith?
Yeah, that'd be very similar days. A couple of nice days coming up. Here's the official reports from yesterday in case you were wondering. Although, as Lee alluded to, in Portland and the surrounding areas, you didn't need to do any shoveling. There was rain after it melted pretty quickly, and most of us have melted out the snow through today because the pattern we've been in really through much of this winter has been, yes, we've gotten snow and we're above average for snowfall, yet days after, it seems like we almost always torch out and get into the upper 40s and low 50s. And these are the current temperatures even at this hour, 46, 46, and 46 along the coastline. A couple of snow showers in the mountains, nothing major there, just a little orographic effect of lifting of the air as it kind of goes up against those mountains. Tomorrow will be very similar to today. Temperatures will pop into the mid and upper 40s along the coastline, staying a little bit cooler in the mountains here, but it should be a relatively bright and pleasant day. And then Wednesday, we actually have a really mild day, which would make headlines if it weren't for the stretch that we're already in. Even though we have more clouds on Wednesday, watch these temperatures over southwestern Maine, which could get into the upper 50s, 57 in Sanford, 57 in Portsmouth, 53 in Portland on Wednesday. We do have a storm to talk about for late week, guys. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
In the headlines tonight, the accused murderer of a UNE medical student is being held in a Massachusetts jail without bail. Deanne Kenny Stryker was in her hometown library when she was attacked from behind and stabbed several times. Police say Stryker and her alleged attacker, Jeffrey Yao, went to the same high school, but it's not clear if they ever knew each other.
Today, faculty returned to Marjory Stoneham Douglas High School, the scene of a mass shooting that killed 17 people. Yesterday, families were invited to an orientation on campus as a way to ease back into classes before school officially begins again Wednesday. Teachers have 2 planning days before the kids come back. And some noted a sign of hope as they walked into work, a rainbow over the memorial to those killed by accused shooter Nicholas Cruz. The pictures were popping up on social media this morning. A little bit of natural beauty before what we can only imagine will be a very tough week for Marjory Stoneham teachers.
So in response to the mass shootings in our country, the question is always asked, what civilian would need a semi-automatic AR-15?
Christina Rex set out to find out how these guns are used and when they aren't. In the headlines.
Liam Lindsay, is an AR-15 used in hunting? Not typically, but it can be. In the shooting range? Sometimes. Mostly, though, people we talked to said this semi-automatic rifle is a collector's item for gun enthusiasts.
This is a standard deer gun here in the state, semi-automatic.
And he says not so different from an AR-15.
Fires this bullet, and people use this. So what's the difference between this firearm in terms of its capability, distance, firepower? It's really not much from an AR-15.
Joe Cimino, a veteran and gun store owner, says the gun is a scapegoat.
The AR-15 has been singled out. It's an ugly gun. It's all black.
Singled out because of the role the AR-15 has played in deadly U.S. mass shootings. Among gun sellers, the AR-15 is known as today's modern sporting rifle.
The AR-15 doesn't work any different than any other semi-automatic rifle that you could use for anything, whether it be duck hunting or whether it be for deer hunting.
Contrary to social media rumors, AR does not stand for assault rifle or automatic rifle, but for Armalite. The Armalite company first developed the rifle in 1956 as a replacement for another military rifle. It was designed to be lighter and easier to shoot quickly in combat. Now, it's another gun for a sportsman's collection.
You know, people in the firearms world are always looking for something unique and something different. I mean, this is an industry like any other. Some people like it, some people don't.
Now, several lawmakers have been talking about this proposal, including Governor LePage, but the president has said he's considering proposals to raise the age to buy a gun to be 21.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. Well, all this week on News Center Maine, we are focusing on safety in our schools. We gathered students from across the state to share with us their concerns and what they would like to see change.
We started by asking whether they're afraid a shooting could actually happen in their school, and the answer was absolutely.
The shooting follows the pattern. The shootings all seem to be unexpected, and that's what makes it scary for me personally in my own school. Is you don't know where it's going to happen next. But I think that it will probably continue to happen until something is done to prevent it from happening.
Our full forum with the students called Listen to Me will air Thursday night at 7 o'clock right here on News Center Maine. Athletes who went home without medals also went home. Let's start again. Well, this is going to be for our English-speaking viewers. If you went home with a medal from the Olympics, you also got some cash. But
and bragging rights.
Do winning teams get to split the first place pot? That is today's Ask Now question. And
getting outside in nature, getting in a green space every day with trees and nature, at least 15 minutes a day can help people to sleep better.
Struggling to stay awake during the day, but finding it impossible to fall asleep at night. Sound familiar? Tips to catch some Z's straight ahead.
Well, the Olympic flame is extinguished and the games are over for at least another 2 years.
Whether you're sad it's over or totally over it anyway, one of our viewers sent in a question that you may want to know the answer to. Cheryl asks, I know athletes get paid a certain amount of money for medals, so what happens when the women's hockey team wins and there are 23 of them on the team? Do they all share the money for one gold medal?
Well, we found out. Let's break it down. First of all, this is how much money it is. In 2018, U.S. athletes got $37,500 if they won gold, $22,500 for silver, $15,000 for every bronze medal. That amount does not come from the International Olympic Committee. It is set by the athlete's home country. So, for example, in Singapore, the prize for a gold medal is $1 million.
Now, in the case of the women's hockey team and all team sports, the pot is split evenly between all the players. $1,700 doesn't seem like a lot for winning gold, but that amount is more than was awarded at the Summer Games in Rio. Also new this Winter Games, the medal prize is not being taxed as long as the athlete makes less than $1 million per year, which I was curious to look up the average salary for a professional women's hockey player here in the U.S. You want to take any guesses?
The average salary?
We have 6 professional teams in the NWHL.
$125,000.
I wish. I think at most they make maybe $26,000 a year.
Oh, see, I was only 100 off.
Yeah,
Okay.
They all work other jobs in addition to being on the ice. So
there you go. All right, in the offseason, Tom Brady is obviously enjoying some quality time with his family. Today, he and his wife Giselle both posted wedding photos in honor of their 9-year anniversary. Giselle wrote, "I love learning and growing with you," and Tom mimicked his wife's go-to captions, writing in both English and in Portuguese.
well, getting out of jail and getting back to work.
Who's here has ever been arrested for any sort of bullshit? Great. How many people have spent time in prison? Any amount of time in prison? Great.
These men and women rely on their job to keep them out of trouble and away from drugs.
And mild for the next few days, but is a snowstorm creeping up the coast. Our own monster, Keith Carson, coming up next. Jail or death? Those are the outcomes that most people hear about when you talk about battling addiction. But even those who get treatment can certainly at times fall back into the pattern of using drugs, getting arrested, or going into rehab and relapsing. The cycle starts all over again.
There are some, however, who do break that cycle with the help of a steady job. Chris Costa introduces us to people succeeding in their recovery, finding hope from hopelessness.
Law enforcement officers often see people struggling with substance use disorder at some of their lowest points. They stress the importance of stable housing, sometimes medication, and a job as reasons why people are less likely to reoffend. One man says his job has given him another chance at life without drugs.
That one time that I decided to try it, it almost killed me.
Matt McConnell is grateful to be alive. This master carpenter is in recovery, 3 months sober.
Sometimes in my mind I'm like, I only have 90 days, but I couldn't make it through a day without using, or an hour, so it is huge.
Alcohol and pills are no longer part of Matt's life. His job is to keep this construction site and his life in order.
Along with the trades, there comes a lot of substance abuse,
This is not Matt's first time fighting addiction.
I pretty much lost everything in a short amount of time.
He started using heroin while living in California.
I'll never use a needle. That won't be me, that came true for me.
Coming back to Maine was a chance to reset.
So I came back here, and about 3 months went by, things were going great, and like all of us say, I'm just gonna try it one more time. And that one time that I decided to try it, it almost killed me. My roommates found me. I had overdosed. I was taken by ambulance to Maine Medical Center.
Matt spent 4 days in a coma, 13 days in the ICU.
My brother flew in from Illinois. He came pretty much for my funeral. We didn't know what way it was going to go.
He says his substance use contributed to multiple criminal convictions, including burglary and theft, convictions that left gaps in his resume.
They want explanations, and a lot of times you don't get a call back, and you know the reason why. It asks if you've ever been convicted of a crime. For a lot of us, it's like, we don't want to put yes, because it's like, how many do you want me to list? And are you a felon? A lot of times, we don't know how to answer that one. Should I leave it blank? Should I say no and hope that they won't find out that I am? Should I just be honest and say I am?
Everybody. Who's here has ever been arrested for any sort of bullshit? Great. How many people have spent time in prison? Any amount of time in prison? Great.
The company MaineWorks hires people like Matt who are coming out of jail or addiction treatment.
Look how you guys struggled to get the help you needed. Doesn't come with a bow on it.
Just getting back to work is a huge thing, because a lot of us, when we put the substance down, it's kind of like, now what,
He says this job is what prevents his mind from wandering, giving him a sense of responsibility and a reason not to fall back into drug use.
So there's that drive, there's that determination to excel at whatever you're doing. You'll find a lot of us are a lot harder working than some of the other guys that you see on the job sites, because we want to prove, that we're worth it, that we've made mistakes, but, watch this.
Matt hopes to pursue a career in health and fitness. Coming up tomorrow and Wednesday, we'll hear from more people who are succeeding in their recovery.
All right, we're going to be succeeding in the skies, at least for the next few days.
Nice.
But I saw people who do follow you on Twitter, and they were talking about this big, giant, monster, mega storm that possibly could be a thing.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Cross that bridge when
the
we
hype
get there.
machine is out of control. Let's just start there, right? Take a look at this. Does this shock you guys that all 3 reporting stations in Maine are running well above average for snow this season? It's kind of interesting. Numbers never lie, but they can be different than the perception, because it had all this snow, yet at the same time we've been melting it every week, week and a half or so, and then we've had rain in between. So even though the numbers are high, it hasn't seemed that way, and snowpack has been much lower than last year. And this is the reason for it, right? We get snow like we did yesterday, and then today upper 40s, some low 50s, even 40, 42, 43 in the mountains. So that's why, even though we have received a lot of snow this season, statistically it has not felt that way as a winter. Here's some snow showers going on in the mountains right now. Again, those are orographic. They're driven by the terrain, so they're not going to be a big deal. They'll stay in the higher terrain through tonight. Tomorrow is a very similar day to today, where temperatures in the mid and upper 40s over southern and southwestern Maine. Right around 40 degrees in the mountains should do it for a high. Then a few snow showers Tuesday night in through northern Maine. Wednesday's a bit of a cloudier day, but it is also a warmer day. So even though we're mostly cloudy, temperatures will pop into the mid and even upper 50s over southern Maine, right around 50 degrees up into Rockland and Bangor, probably 48, 49 degrees as well. After that, a little sneaky shot of snow. It's not a big deal, but it'll be for northern Maine and the mountains. So largely, and I'm putting everyone in the basket together, which is probably unfair, largely in areas that would like a little bit more snow here coming through on Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and it'll stay rain showers along the coast and over southern Maine. That moves out by Thursday afternoon. It's basically just a little warm front impulse that pushes through. But we took a shot at snowfall amounts, and it will add up to 4 to 7 inches here from Greenville to Rangeley. Probably down into Farmington will be around 3 or 4. Kingfield and Bethel, same deal. And then we'll be 4 to 7 all the way up into Presque Isle, Caribou. And then as far south as Bangor with about 1 inch or 2, and then nothing along the coastline as it will be too warm. All right, mega, super, huge, whatever storm that Lee was just talking about. A lot of buzz on social media about this storm. Rightly so to some degree. It is a very blocked up storm, which means that it will stall out here on Friday. But as far as Maine is concerned, I think the block is probably too strong and suppresses this storm largely to our south on Friday. We get some winds and maybe some snow showers, but I don't think it's a major storm system for us. So we'll keep an eye on it. Stakes are high, but I just feel like it's getting a little out of control as far as what people are calling it. So Thursday is that little light snow. That's inland and into the mountains. And then the weekend, if the storm misses us, as I think it will, it's not going to be beautiful. We're going to be stuck to the north of it, which is good for 35 to 40 and a good amount of clouds. So kind of not a beautiful pattern after that, but it's still better than getting the storm on the chin, because it would be during a high tide as well, astronomically high tide. So
this is the time of year where I'm really paying attention, because those spring sports, they're looking to maybe get outside, get those outdoor practices in, and that could make the difference. You know, that
we've had some monster March storms in the past. Like, it's not a great month for usually. You usually always get one.
And Portland, it's actually the snowiest statistical month of the winter.
I didn't even know that.
It's like you knew that, but you didn't know it. I like it.
So awesome. All right, Keith, thanks so much.
Dropping some brain.
More statistics now. Nearly half of all Americans have trouble sleeping at night, according to the National Sleep Center.
If you're part of the 45% like I am, you'll want to pay attention to this story, because Bill McGinty shows us that sometimes when you snooze,
you lose?
You win.
You know why babies sleep so well? It's because they don't have to deal with any of this. According to the National Sleep Center, Americans say they sleep on average of 7.5 hours a night, but almost half of us say it's either not long enough or restless. But why?
We're going to put...
Julian Parra is going through a sleep study tonight. He wakes up suddenly, gasping for air, and he doesn't know why. Sleep apnea is suspected, but here at the Novant Sleep Center in Monroe, he'll be wired up and watched all night by Rita, so his medical team can figure out the issue for sure.
If you have sleep apnea, it's usually worse, typically when you're dreaming and when you're on your back.
They'll watch his heart, his brain waves, and his breathing. Even his legs are going to be wired up for restless leg syndrome.
Yeah.
While Julian tries to sleep, we'll dream up some ways to help you sleep better with Dr. Nancy Behrens, who's a sleep specialist. First up, get some actual sunlight during your day.
Getting outside in nature, getting in a green space every day with trees and nature, at least 15 minutes a day can help people to sleep better.
So what else? A cooling pillow? Studies show a cooling cap did help people sleep better. Set the room temperature to the mid-60s. That's the optimum sleep temperature, but you've got to be comfortable. Sleep sleep aids are okay too, but long term, they lose their effect as your body tends to get used to them. Turn the clock away from your view. Never check the time if you wake up. Keep the room dark, quiet, and make a list of things you have to do the next day so you can try to settle your brain. A bad diet might be keeping you up too. Try high fiber, high protein, less alcohol, and no caffeine after 2 p.m. Good sleep is a puzzle. There's no one single fix. And it's individual. What works for you might not work for somebody else. But these are the most common sleep fixes.
And I'll let you
Back to Julian and his sleep issue, which these scans prove is sleep apnea. The boxes are the moments he stopped breathing, some longer than a full minute.
And sleep issues are different for everyone and can develop at any age. More fiber, exercise won't work for everyone, so if you have a serious problem, go and see your doctor.
Less children, children out of the house, no children, all that helps your sleep. Oh,
that is
sorry,
very true.
I digress. Cindy Williams here. What's coming up at 5:30?
Hey guys, we got a lot of news coming up. A 10-year-old girl is dead in Waldo County. Police are investigating. We'll tell you what they can say at this point about what they know about her death so far. And a gift to his community that is living on past his death. The heartwarming story of a homemade ice rink. Those stories and much more ahead at 5:30.
Nothing better than a homemade ice rink. Cindy, thanks so much. We'll be right back.
Coming up tonight on 207, take a trip through the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. We'll take a look at a documentary that features it, plus the so-called wine geek Ned on 207 at 7.
All right, today's Brain Drops is an interesting visualization of Arctic sea ice, and what you're looking at in the scale is age of sea ice, which is almost directly correlated to the thickness of sea ice. So they use a satellite product to derive this. So if we go forward, I'm going to have to speed this up because it takes a long time. It starts in 1984, the year after I was born. Do some math quickly. 34 years old. And you'll watch it kind of oscillate, as it does during the seasons, and it moves around and whatnot. As you go forward in time, of course, you'll see a trend here emerging as we get into the early 2000s. You see it oscillate. It's a viscous in nature, but its size spatially and the age of it is now decreasing as you get later 2006, and we'll keep going, and eventually they'll show you an interesting comparison. But you can see there's much less of it, even during the winter season, as it's in a poleward location. Of course, this all has to do with our globe warming a couple degrees Celsius over the past 100 years or so. And there we are, and they'll do a comparison here that's really interesting from the 80s. By the way, 84 was not an arbitrary year. That's when they started measuring it with this particular satellite product. So before that, it was estimated. So this is 2016 in September, and they'll screen it with 1984 there. And by the way, if you're wondering why this hasn't increased our sea level vastly, sea level has increased, but this was already in the ocean. So when we talk about melting glaciers, we're talking about Greenland glaciers that are on the land. If they melt over the ocean, it's like a boat. It's already displaced. It doesn't do anything for the sea level.
Okay, very interesting.
Just
really
like that.
mesmerizing watching
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I wish it would go the other way, but it's cool to watch.
Yeah.
All right, News Center 5:30 begins right now.